is such a divided world
God
now. I have
damn,
never
is.
seen it. I'm a lot older than you, but this is such a different world than I grew up in. I don't know if you, well, you must.
They told us when we were little, you don't ever talk about who you're voting for. And we didn't listen to them. Now
you think that's the problem?
everybody.
But I got to say that without, it doesn't matter what the specifics are. I knew and am friends with people who vote totally different than me. And I've always known that.
Yeah.
I never heard don't talk about who you're voting for, because I thought that we lived in a world where, and especially this world, this democracy that supposedly exists, was the ability to be open about a different way of life.
Yeah.
And most of our cultures, escaped, whether they left England or wherever they left, to not be under the monarchy, to be able to have freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of, and that allowed somebody who doesn't think like you, who doesn't vote like you, to be here.
Yeah.
We were, as a kid, nobody ever, if I went up to somebody and said, who did you vote for? They were open about it. Nobody ever hid it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, well, I disagree, or I don't like that. But yeah, now it's so divided. It's so divided.
Do you think it's because of
militaristic
media, social media?
Yeah, I think it's Mark Zuckerberg. I think we got to march into his house and string him up and make an example for all of them. Zuckerberg, Musk is trying to make the other one more open, but like, I think we got to take them all, string them up, and say we want our fucking lives back. You can't be pushing negativity to us anymore. It's an unregulated world that's turning brothers against brothers. My parents will walk through there. During COVID, I was living there for a few months, and we'd just take walks every day. It was really nice. And like, we'd walk and see the different houses, some being built and stuff, and it was like, oh, well, that's a Trumper. We hate them. And I'm like, they live in your neighborhood. Like, they experience weather the same as you. They both root for the fucking same football team. They need the fucking streets plowed the same as you. Like, you're alike 99%, and there's one little thing that you're voting. By the way, none of your votes matter statistically. So like, Maryland's gonna be the same no matter what, and you hate that person, and they're just like you. Except
I agree with you. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but and you think that's totally social media?
Yeah, I think they did experiments on us of like, what if we show you guys negative shit? Will you be more entertained here, and will it seep into your real life? And then it's like, yeah, it will seep into your real life, and they'll stay online more. So like, sick, fucking get them. It's like putting more nicotine into cigarettes to addict you. And we regulated that, but they refused to regulate Facebook and Instagram and all that and TikTok.
The
and
conspiracy is that this is what China does, is like plants all of this stuff so that we fight each other and we destroy each other, and they don't necessarily want to destroy.
But what he's saying is, we built the engine.
Yeah.
They're loading fuel in for their own, this works.
Yeah.
So, not just social media,
what China does is they show to kids, instead of showing them certain things what we do, it's like, what's going to make you mad, or what's going to make you fucking, or kill yourself. China shows them math.
Yeah.
Education. TikTok is not what it is here.
Yeah. And so it's regulated to a place that's going to improve their society. And ours is just falling apart towards civil war, where everyone's seeing anti-Semitism everywhere, where it's like, you got to fight it back with positivity. Things are pretty good, and you're going to live in this horrible world.
So were you able to convince your parents of what you're saying?
No, not really. Here or there, you can convince a Democrat that fucking Fox News is just as much propaganda as CNN.
I agree with that.
And they go, no, it's not. We're centrist. They're rightists. I'm like, no, you guys are both seeing.
No, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, I come from an era, I'm a lot older than you, where you were given, when you watch the news, you were given facts.
Yeah, facts. Just facts.
Just facts. And with those facts, you can make your own opinion. And I would maybe come to I may come to a different opinion than you based on the exact same facts.
Yeah.
Where you watch or where you read your facts now, if you remove yourself and just read what you're reading or be aware of what you're listening to, you can also tell how they're leaning. Yeah. And you should never be able to do that. And if you don't do that, then that feeling of how they're leaning bleeds into the fact, and that's what you believe. And that's how you believe or how you react to it.
ESPN used to do this fun stuff in the old days of ESPN where they would show a player's highlights.
Okay.
And they show Michael Jordan's highlights back then, and it'd be like, they'd show like 4 shots he made. And it's like he scored 32 points on 12 for 16 shooting. I'm like, wow. And they'd show 4 of his good plays. And then they show 4 good plays, like 4 good shots and like 2 blocks to some other guy. And they go, he finished with 8 points and 2 blocks. And you're like, but you're led to believe they were having fun with it. You're led to, as you're watching this highlight reel, like, oh, this guy must have dominated. You're like, no, we showed every single thing he had. And it just makes, it's just a cool tweak where it like, oh, it just guides you to feel a certain way. And people go, I know what I saw. And you're like, you don't.
Yeah, I know. I as from being in this business for like 50 years and being involved in production and post-production, it's amazing what you can and what is manipulated.
My friend Joe Wagner, we used to work for Eliminate, I think, one of those shows.
Yeah.
And he goes, so we get all this footage and we can decide what to make everybody. You can be a poet, a jock, a fucking forlorn, lovesick. We can make you anything with this footage. We're putting it down to 11 minutes. You've said enough things that we can decide what you're going to be later.
Right. On all these shows, they have something, there's a position called a story producer. And a story producer is producing a story out of raw footage. So a story doesn't happen.
Yeah.
A story is produced.
Right. Wow.
It's pretty amazing. And they help it a little bit. They also, like, they'll go, like, in those confessionals of all those reality shows, there's a little bit of a story, and they'll go, well, do you really trust? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I really trust him. And then all of a sudden, there's a storyline about 2 people that don't trust each other.
Right. It's crazy. I mean, by the way, the Ukraine war is going just as strong as it ever was. We're just done with it. They're just not covering that one anymore. So people aren't feeling that one as much as they were a year and a half ago.
So the answer
many
is,
people are dying there.
Are we not working? I don't know why I'm asking you this because you don't have the inside scoop. But are we not working toward regulations on?
I think they're bigger than the government. I don't really know. I think they're bigger than the government because they're international. So I think they'll just do whatever they want. And they're probably bought off government people too. And the government doesn't. You ever see Zuckerberg in front of Congress? And they're like,
yes.
Is all this information like way down your offices? And he was like, what's your question? He was like, you guys are trying to you don't even understand how Facebook works.
It's dinosaurs that don't understand the internet, the interweb. They're like, what is going on? And they think he has like files of information.
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, you guys are so ill-equipped to fucking regulate them.
But not only regulate them. When I watch those hearings, I feel like each one of these questions is based on a campaign. Mm-hmm. They're campaigning and showboating.
Exactly.
There's nothing. They're not asking anything that will productively move this. Like, even if they are dinosaurs.
You, sir, are out of line. Do you get that? You get me? You get me being angry?
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I know this because I have a child and I'm not technically equipped and really understand, and she's my genius bar, and so's my son. And I feel like these people did not put in any time to kind of research, to kind of figure out, like even saying, I don't understand. But you have to admit that sometimes what is put on there can be somewhat dangerous.